Yes, like.
Yep, like that. Right. Our first our first episode is called Hurt/Comfort, and it is the I don't actually have a chapter number here. It is the
I think it's
fifth.
chapter 6.
No, I
Oh,
think it's the fifth.
let me check. I can check for you, don't worry.
Oh, okay. We think it's the fifth.
Skills.
Pardon?
Skills, I can check.
Right. We think it is the fifth chapter of Human Nature.
Brilliant preparation here.
Well,
Yes, chapter 5.
right. It's just that I haven't written down chapter numbers because I'm very adamant on all of these being kind of individual episodes, even though they're definitely not.
Yeah, season 1, episode 5.
Yeah, season 1, episode 5
Even
of
says
Human
right
Nature.
there, 5th chapter.
Oh, you actually have the stream open. That's nice. But really, surely this would be series 38, chapter 5 of The Virgin New Adventures.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Or like, see how many seasons did the classic Who have?
26, I think.
So maybe like episode 100 and something of chapter 27. I don't know. It's a
No,
weird.
because then every separate book would be a chapter, an episode, not chapter would be an episode.
Well, no, if it was every separate book was an episode, this would be episode 38. That's why I said
Yeah, exactly.
episode 100 and something of season 27. You there?
Let's move on. Let's move on.
Right, we're being confusing. In this episode, something quite graphic happens. Timothy Dean, who in the prologue chapter was shown the future, is hung.
Oh, this is that chapter.
Well, you can see the stream. Surely you can see the two boys with the noose.
Yeah, just couldn't remember whether this was that chapter.
Oh, it's that chapter, all right. Timothy is hung. Um,
That's
Timothy.
basically the only noble thing that happens.
Well, I mean, yeah. John Smith questions whether he made up Gallifrey, whether he made up the name of Gallifrey as the place he came from, because he hasn't found it on a map. He's had trouble finding on a map, and he's wondering if he made up Gallifrey, which is kind of the start in this book of the Doctor kind of peeking through the blinds. Yeah. But the chapter actually starts with Benny and Constance finding an old dynamite cache that they had stashed. Well, that Constance and her suffragettes had stashed around. But yeah, and then it goes back to the boys at Halton College, and they're holding a court-martial. After I forget what the court-martial was about. I haven't got that written down. Do either of you know?
I think it's because Timothy spoke up during one of John Smith's lessons, if I remember correctly.
All right. I rather wish I had the book in front of me, but I haven't, so I could just double check. But oh well. He's found guilty. He's found guilty. He's having daydreams about everyone's deaths, which is quite morbid. And he's hung. He's hung from the window. And it's kind of played on. I forget why, but I don't think the other schoolboys were expecting him to die. Somehow. But
Mm.
like, they hung him from the window. But I seem to remember them not thinking he would die.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely something like that.
Yeah. But he definitely dies. So that's the end
Yeah,
of Timothy. He doesn't appear for the rest of the book because he's a
and they
corpse.
they shove his mate inside the wardrobe.
Oh yes, Anand is shoved into the wardrobe so he doesn't see what's happening. Benny and Constance go to Alexander, Mr. Shuttleworth's house. Alexander, of course, is the person who rents out the house Benny's been staying in. And Benny and Constance hide in a hedge while a nurse is looking for Benny. A nurse goes by asking for Benny. Then we go back to John Smith, and he's writing The Old Man and the Police Box again. So, and it's basically summarized like this: the old man gave the Gallifreyans an extra heart and regeneration abilities, and then he went back to Earth. Basically, he decided that these people he created weren't for him, and he ran back to Earth. And he knew that the Gallifreyans would chase him. And this is a bit of the Doctor's story kind of poking through. This is, of course, the Doctor ran away from Gallifrey for unknown reasons.
Well, at least that's what we believe.
I mean, I'm fairly sure that's not disputed.
To be changed in season 14.
I don't think so. I mean, I don't think they do anything which conflicts with what we know. I don't think they do that.
Are you sure?
Josh, let's not get into the discussion of the Timeless Child again, but we know the Timeless Child does not really conflict with anything we know. There is room for multiple. There's room for the Timeless Child and what we know to exist in one canon. Right?
Okay.
Do you really not think that?
Not entirely.
I have a feeling I really put you in your place when we did the discussion of the Timeless Children. But it seems you've forgotten everything I said.
Yeah, it was like a month and a half ago.
Yeah, alright. Then an owl flies into John's house through the window. And John names the owl Merlin. Now, of course, this is a reference to the Doctor being Merlin. And whether John Smith knows that subconsciously or not, I'm not entirely sure. But then Seraph, one of the Albertides, comes into John's house, pins him to the floor, and bites off the end of his finger. Like the end of his little finger. Which was a bit odd when I was first reading it, but I realised that they needed to do that if they wanted to, I think it's take on some of their memories and then be able to shapeshift into them.
Yeah, so
That sounds about right.
yeah.
Then Seraph digs into John's created memories, and there are some things John cannot say. I haven't written down what those things are, but apparently there are things that John just cannot say. Like, he goes to say them and then he puts his hand over his mouth or something. And Seraph, the Albertide, is captured by the police. And that's more or less the end of that chapter, I think.
Yeah.
So we have a bit with Benny, Constance, and Alexander. We have a bit with the schoolboys. We have a bit of the old man of the police box, which is great for our purposes. Of course, that story is the only reason this book is this early in the timeline. And we get an exploration of John's memories, which is very interesting. Oh, and Benny gets a bath at Alex Shuttleworth's house. I don't know why I felt that noteworthy to write down.
Well, since we did spend like half an hour talking about John and Joan's weird relationship last time, I guess you just really wanted to write more about baths or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's what it is, but alright. If you say so. I don't know why I thought that was noteworthy. But yeah, Benny gets a bath at Alex Shuttleworth's house. And there's nothing untoward about it. It's not like he's in the same room as it happens. I would have probably written that down if that were the case. And I'd remember it. But But yeah. Chris, you've been awfully quiet. Do you remember anything from this episode, and what did you think?
Not a lot. Mostly because I was pretty sure the child was still alive at the end. So,
All in due time.
oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, you're getting your chapters a bit muddled.
Oh, I
Yeah.
thought the hospital blew up in this chapter, but obviously not.
That was a while ago. That
Was
was
it?
yeah, that was multiple chapters ago, surely.
No, I'm sure it's this.
Because the thing is, the nurse talks to Alex Shuttleworth about the
About Benny.
no, but also about the hospital that's just exploded.
Okay.
So I'm sure that's happened. I don't remember talking about that with you.
No, neither do I,
last...
which is why I thought it was this chapter.
Huh. Well, obviously, in Good and Bad at Games, the hospital is massacred or something. I don't. Weird, I don't remember that.
No, because I thought that chapter was all about cricket.
I think it was partly about cricket. I remember that happening, and I'm sure I would have written it down if it happened in this chapter.
Anyway, Chris, rate him out of 10.
I'm gonna go 5.
Chris, you really don't like seeing people hung, do you?
Conveniently, not particularly.
Ah. Right, fair enough. Josh, what do you think?
Well, I've read this a long time ago. And since it's not that memorable, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10.
Although, yeah, to be fair, I still don't remember much of this happening. Unless I
Right.
just blocked it out.
I just felt like this chapter was a lot more padded, but I can't remember.
Right, Chris has been
Anyway.
traumatized. Good to know. Chris just doesn't remember it because he's been traumatized. Josh doesn't remember it because he read it a while ago. I think it rather does a good job of kind of preceding the story of the Doctor coming through John Smith, and it does the old man of the police box story, which is the reason it's here, and it is the reason I am very interested in. So I'm gonna be a bit more optimistic than you two. I'm gonna give it an 8.
Okay.
Right.
Moving on then.
Yeah, let's move on to the next chapter of Doctor Who, Human Nature. The next chapter